Oisches, Hine, Shnei Inyonim Anal Shebetshuva, the two above mentioned ideas in Tshuva. On one hand, we have Tshuva as an independent of Maisim Tovim. And on the other hand, we have Tshuva as an introduction of Maisim Tovim, can also be the difference between the tshuva that we do on the Rosh Hashanah, in which that tshuva is a standalone, and then you have the tshuva of the Aseres Yimei Tshuva, which are an introduction to the Maisim Tovim. Over there, it's tshuva as an introduction to Maisim Tovim, as the Rebbe will explain. That the two ideas of tshuva shehi inyan bifnei atzmo, that it is an aspect on its own, just teshuva. So you have good deeds and you have tshuva independent. And also as vishehi hagadoma l'maisim tovim, to good deeds. So it's tshuva maisim tovim, tshuva to bring the good deeds. Haim b'dugmas hatshuva d'Rosh Hashanah v'hatshuva d'Aseres Yimei Tshuva. This is similar to the tshuva of Rosh Hashanah, and then the tshuva that we have on the Aseres Yimei Tshuva. The tshuva d'Rosh Hashanah, tshuva of Rosh Hashanah, hamrumezes b'tkiyas shofar, which is hinted, the blowing of the shofar, that's a level of teshuvah. That level of tshuva of Rosh Hashanah, ikra hu loy hatshuva al nyonim pratiyim. Mainly, that's not tshuva for detailed, specific matters. Ki'im hashova limekoyde v'shorshoy. That is to return to the source and root. So we're bringing the neshama back to its source and its root, a general movement, not for detailed aspects to do teshuvah on, but a general return to Hashem, to the source and root where the neshama comes from. The inyan hameitzar the shofar. But we say the min hameitzar korosi. So what is the meitzar? The meitzar is not Averis that he has done. The meitzar is the general situation. The person finds himself in this world, distant and separate from Hashem. That's the meitzar. The Ian ha-meitzar the shofar. Bin ha-meitzar karosi, which is shuva, huloi meitzar shel ve'alav, and is not a meitzar, a difficult that comes of and for sins, ki'im zeshu am. The fact that he is in a level of ein melech b'loi am. Am means separate, and b'loi hamerchav shesham mushrash, and he's not in the place of wide where he is rooted. So the fact he is meitzar in this situation, the fact that he is separated from Hashem, and not an Aveda, it's just the uncomfortable situation that the neshama finds himself in a general way, that it's in this tight spot and not in the wide place of above. The Zehu HaKesher, the shofar, im tamlichuni aleichem. This is the connection of shofar with tamlichuni aleichem, that we say, make Hashem a king over us, because making the Eibishter a king is bringing down that merchav. He says, min ha-meitzar, and he finds himself in a squeezed place, and he wants the merchav. That is tamlichuni aleichem. Tamlichuni brings down the level of malchus, so it shouldn't be so meitzar. This is the connection. Now that we're saying that shofar is to from the meitzar to bring down from the merchav is connected. That means make Hashem a king over us through b'meh b'shofar tamlichuni. Making what is tamlichuni aleichem? The Inyan tamlichuni aleichem hu hamshachas hamalchus misharshu mekayda. The idea of tamlichuni aleichem is to draw down malchus from its root and its source, to bring it down so that it should be merchav, so that the neshama should not be in a situation of nature. So that's the level of teshuvah, a general return which plays out during the Rosh Hashanah, during the Tkiyas Shofar, during the general movement of returning to Hashem. Tshuva as a standalone. Then we have the tshuva, the Aserisimei tshuva. The tshuva, Aserisimei tshuva, is already a detailed, specific tshuva. She'ozu binyan Yud Sfiras de Malchus, Haprotin de Malchus. On the 10 days of Tshuva, then we build Malchus, which is the details of Malchus, the 10 Sfiras of Malchus. That's during Aseres Yimei Tshuva. And that is Shayachas Liprotim. That's connected to details. And over here, the Tshuva is a introduction to the Maisim Tovim, to the details. That becomes an introduction for Torah mitzvahs, Maisim Tovim. Shetchilosom hi badaled hayomim sheben Yom Kippurim leSukkos. The beginning of Torah mitzvahs, that's the tshuva that precedes Torah mitzvahs. But the actual Torah mitzvahs, that's the 10 days, the actual Torah mitzvahs begin in the 4 days Sheben Yom Kippurim leSukkos. That's when we start the mitzvahs. Ki Isa b'medrash, as the medrash explains, Shebiyomim Elu ze Oisek b'Sukkos v'ze b'Lulavei. Explains there why is it Bayom Harishon instead of Sukkos, the pasuk calls it Yom Harishon. It's Rishon who lechesh ben Avenes, because the 4 days between Yom Kippur, when the Eibishter forgave them, now it starts a new cheshbon. So what about the days in between? So the Medrash says that those days is the people are occupied with mitzvahs, and we have the two areas, sukkah and lulav. Those are mitzvahs. The mitzvahs begin in after the new slave to Yom Kippur. Sukkah shu makifu inyan ha-mitzvahs. Sukkah, which is a encompassing, surrounding, is the idea of mitzvahs. Mitzvahs are like levushim; they surround the levushim. The lulav, and the lulav she'inyonehu hamshacha b'pnimis. The lulav is to bring down in an inner, the makif, to bring it in an inner. Ki yadua shal yidei netilas dalad minim nimshach hamakiv the sukkah b'pnimius, that through the taking the 4 species, we take from the sukkah, the makif, and we bring it down into a pnimius. So that's the inyan hu inyan ha-Torah. So the sukkah and lulav, sukkahs is makif, is levushim, is mitzvahs, and lulav v'zebelulav, that's the inyan of Torah, which is bringing it down the makif into the pnimius, which is the avodah of the 4 species, and which is Torah. The Torah is inside, that's internalizing it, that's bringing down. Torah comes down inside in a pnimius, so mitzvahs and Torah. So generally, we're saying that the 4 species, the dalad minim, bring down the makif into the pnimim, but specifically, this is the lulav. Ubefrat shebedalid haminim atzmam, especially that within the four species is lulav represents Torah. V'hagavoya bahem, and the one who is the tallest amongst the four species, who halulav is the lulav. And the lulav is sheyesh bei tam, that it has the taste, as the Medrash divides all these different four species. So there are some that have a tam and a reyach, which is the esrog, but then there are some that have a tam yidden, that represented by the lulav. The lulav is the date. The date has only a taste and not a smell. The taste represents Torah. That means people that are learned, are Torah. So that's why when the Medrash says lulav, it's talking about Torah. So shnei inyanim elu shebedaled hayomim shalifnei sukkos. So these two areas of Torah mitzvahs, which we start right after Yom Kippur in the 4 days preceding Sukkot, shebedaled hayomim shalifnei sukkos, hey b'Torah chona, they are a preparation to actually oisek b'sukkosu b'lulav. That means you're busy with the sukkah and the lulav, because you don't actually sit in the sukkah yet over there, and you don't actually shake the lulav. You wait for Yom Tov for that. So this is only a preparation that oisek b'sukkosu b'lulav. So b'chag HaSukkos same b'payil in actuality to come down in the Chag HaSukkos. But in any event, that's the level of the tshuva of Aseres Yimei Tshuva, as a tshuva Maisim Tovim, in which the tshuva comes before the Maisim Tovim, the 4 days, and the Bayom Mamish on Sukkot itself. That's Hine B'Shmini Atzeres. When it comes the 8th day after Sukkot, the sukkah, the lulav, the mitzvahs, the makif, and the mitzvahs, and the poil, then comes Shmini Atzeres. Shmini Atzeres, Shmini Meloshin Shuman. That lotion of fat, that is the fat who hatamtzis va essence shall call ha'inyonim the Chodesh Tishrei. That's the essence, the essence. Also in Yiddish, the Rebbe brings down the word tamtzis, which is the essence. The essence shall call and yonim the Chodesh Tishrei, the essence of all matters in the month of Tishrei. Uboy niklotim. So on Shmini Atzeres, and then they're absorbed, which is Atzeres Meloshin Klita. So all these matters that we talked about are absorbed, calling yonim elu. So all these hamshachas absorbed in Shmini Atzeres, in the Shmini, in the fat, in the essence, that is the point there. And that way, all of the matters of Tishrei are extended for the whole year. As the Tzemach Tzedek writes, the boy b'Shmini Atzeres mekablin kol Yisrael shefa hanhagosom b'teirosom v'abedosom kol lashon. To quote the Tzemach Tzedek, that on Shmini Atzeres, the Yidden receive that flow of their conduct, of their Torah and their service, the mitzvahs of all year. That is to be absorbed. It's all absorbed in Shmini Atzeres, which is Nimshon for whole year. So this is the idea that on the 8th day, which is Shmini Atzeres, the king sends the people and they went to their tents, the Mebchinas HaMalchus, Shenimshecha B'Rosh Hashanah, Aseres Yimei Tshuva, from the level of Malchus that came down first on Rosh Hashanah and then Aseres Yimei Tshuva in the Pratim, the Binyan HaMalchus, Niten HaKoyach, that gave the power from the level of Hamshach of Malchus and that is Sholach. Bayom Hahemini Sholach. Where do we get the Sholach? Is from the koyach that came down on Rosh Hashanah l'chol Yisrael l'leches le'ahaleihem, for all Yidden to go to their tents. What is ahaleihem? L'nyonei ha'elam she'oskim b'hem b'meshech hashana, to the worldly matter and what they occupy themselves through the year. Ulasis mehem oyel u'mishkan le'yizbarech, and to make a tent and a sanctuary for Hashem blessed. Dira b'tachtonim. To make a tent, to make a dira, dwelling place, b'tachtonim. So we're saying, so that's why it's going la'aleim to their tents, meaning the world into their day to day, ahaleim, to make a oil for the Eibishter, to make a mishkan lo yizbarach, to make a dwelling place for Hashem. That's what it says. They sent the um means while you're separate. In this context, means sometimes is translated to be with a melech b'lei So, but here we're saying like a nation, which means separate, because we're going away and making a dirle yizbarach in this world, in the Aleim. So it says, Nitana Daika, Shezeo al derech laman hokim oischa hayom loy le'om. So over here, Sholach is that he will raise you up as a people. So over there, the emphasis is as a people. Shebereish hashana demasha kosuv loy le'om davke. On Rosh Hashanah, why do we have an davke who kein melech bereish b'lei There's no king without the people, so there has to be an But Rosh Hashanah, the as Rosh Hashanah pirush hu loy meloshen oimem esel adrabe meloshen imay shem anoshim k'meisim misyacholov. Over there, when we say we need an they have to have some sort of relationship. The king with the needs to have a connection, which means we're not talking about the separation. When we say on the Shana Melech B'loi there's Malchus, needs to be, you can't be a king over animals, you need human beings to be a king over. So therefore, when the word im B'loi doesn't mean the emphasis is not on separation, the emphasis is imay, that you're with him. Oimemais would mean distinct the coals as they're going out, meaning there's no longer that fire. But here the emphasis is not that they're separate, but el adrabe am meloshin imay. Here they need that imay. They need to be shemanoshim k'moisim misyachsen elov, and they're related to the Eibishter. So over there. That's an Hashanah, but here we're saying to send them away. But the fact that we sent away the on Shmini Atzeres, who sheyu b'chinas meloshen aimemes, they're extinguishing, and that notwithstanding, while they're aimemes and they're distant. So there too, there should be the imay in the nimshach hakoyach. That way, through this, you have the power. So then they can go to their tents. Which means to make from their tents, literally, which is matters of the world, from the Aholeim to make it an Oyel Mishkan Lo Yizbarach. So Over here, the pasuk specifically says, "Sholach es ha'am," sending the am that to while they are in their separation, while they're in their oimemos, in their still they should be able to make a diralem isbarach, take their ohalehem, vayilchu laoleim, to make the aleim into a oyel mishkan leisbarach. Mamshu bekosov, and then the pasuk continues, and it says, "Smeichim b'tevei lev." He sent them away; they were rejoicing in gladness heart. Al kol hatoiva asher also havaya leDavid avdu l'Yisrael amay, for all the good that Hashem has done. So he done to his servant David and for David and for the Jewish people. That's why they were happy and they're rejoicing. So what does this mean? The Rebbe explains that Smeichim b'tevei leiv hu gilu ha'ave the pnimis nekudas halev, that the rejoicing and the gladness of heart uh, is the revelation of the point of the heart. Kemavur ba'maimer, as explained in the Maimer, in the Torah and the Drush the Rebbe was discussing earlier, that the Maimer of the Torah. So over there, you have now rejoicing is because you have that great love of the inner of the heart. How do you have now the la'achrei amidus hamizbar, the David Hashem? Because we've been asking Hashem throughout this month of Elul and Tishrei. We were asking Hashem to bakshufonai, to misoyer the pnimis of the heart. So this is on the Shmini Atzeres, when everything comes into place, that pnimis actually becomes revealed. La'achrei hamidas hamizmer. After saying the mizmer of the David Hashem Meiri v'yishi. So we add that mizmer in the davening. But Rish Chodesh Elul ad Shana Rabbah, from Rish Chodesh Elul to Shana Rabbah, Shnei Pam b'chol yoyim, we say it twice every day. The Nekudas HaMizmer hi l'cho amar libi bakshu fonei gomer. And the Maimer, the point of the mizmer, that chapter of Tehillim, is, my heart says to you, seek me, seek my pnimis. So, seek my pnimis, we're asking the inner of the life. So one certainly has accomplished what he asked for. That this should be the revelation, that the inner of the heart should be revealed, come into the open. And Shmini Atzeres Nasim Kol Yisrael Smeichim v'Tevei Leiv, all the Yidden become rejoicing and Tevei Leiv. That's why the pasuk says Smeichim v'Tevei Leiv. Tevei Leiv, good heart, means that the heart that bakshufonai, the pnimius that the Yid asked and he accomplished with his request, is open, and the Tevei Leiv, the good heart. That's why the Yid Shmini Atzeres becomes Smeichim Tevei Leiv. Al kol hatoiva asher osa havaya leDavid avdoi, for all of the goodness that Hashem has done to his servant David, which is, David is the level of Malchus, the king, David HaMelech. So that is the Bechinas Malchus Yisbarach. That means that the Eivishter is done, brought down the level of Malchus. Ul Yisrael Amay. So this is David Avdei is the Sfiras HaMalchus. The Yisrael Amay is the Yidden, the people she'oiskim b'binyonei shel olam, those who occupy themselves in building of the world. So it's the Sfiras HaMalchus, and then from Malchus the koyach to build the world. That's the Yisrael Amay. K'mo shekosuf. The binyan shel olam Ubchinas Malchus Yisbarach. So what is the binyan? We built Olam, we built Malchus. So it's the Malchus that was built and the Yidden that built Malchus. Yesh Leimar, the Yisrael, who b'chinas ben. They're saying in the pasuk we refer to them the Yisrael, Dafke Yisrael. Yisrael b'chinas ben. Kiyidua binyan Yaakov Yisrael, as known, the names, the contrast, sometimes Yaakov Yisrael, so Yaakov b'chinas Eved. Yaakov is the level of servant, Yisrael b'chinas ben. V'am hu meloshin aimemes. That means canal, as I said before. B'chinas Eved shalamato mibchinas ben. So we're saying both. We're saying Yisrael, and then we say Amoi. Amoi, which is sort of the level of Yaakov. V'amum loshen aimemes. B'chinas Eved shalamato mibchinas ben. So you have Yisrael and you have Amoi, that they're these two levels that the Yidden have, which is the level of Ben and the level of Eved. Aval yesh Yisrael, gam bazeh she Yisrael hem Amoi Yisbarach. So here we're saying Yisrael Amoi, that Yidden become Amoi, Am, Alzeh, Shem Bonav Yisbarach, that they're his blessed sons. There's a level of advantage that Yisrael becomes Amoi, Commission is Bar Le'il. So that you have both milas, the milas of Amai and the mila of Ben. That's why you say together Uli Yisrael Amai. This was the Rebbe referencing in the Maimer and Zayim Tchilas Masecha of Yom Beis Rosh Hashanah. So over there, he explains the two inyonim. V'lochein Eimer Kan Uli Yisrael Amai. So he says both. Yisrael is the Ben. Amai is the Eimevis. Shtei Amaylas. They're both Maylas. V'derech shenisbar li'il be'inyan sholach es ha'am. He said v'shu chibur the Am b'loshin imay anoshim k'maisoi im Am b'loshin Eimes. They say the sholach es ha'am, which we said that you have the Am, which is Imay, which is like on Rosh Hashanah, that is Imay. And you take the Amay and send it with the Pirush of Am Eloshen Aimemes. So that's also Uli Yisrael, Amay, the Ben, together with the Eved, which the advantage is in the Yisrael to be Amay, as the Rebbe explained that night. Yud. So based on all the above, we can explain Gamzeh. So the Rebbe asked over there, here it says Bayom Hahemini and Divrei Hayomim. Mashmini is Chav Beis, and Divrei Hayomim it says Chav Gimel. The same story. Divrei Hayomim ksiv v'yem esrim v'shleisho l'chodesh hashvi'i sholach hasal shezeh uremes l'yom tov sheni shel kol yis. This hints to the 23rd day is the second day of Yom Tov. It's Simchas Torah. Kinal b'tchilas ha'mayim l'samach tzedek, as before in the beginning of Maimer from Simchas Tzedek. The Inyan Yom Tov Sheni Hu. What is Yom Tov Sheni? Just by definition, shegam yem shemitzad atzmehu chol. Even though a day which on its own is weekday, oisim oisa Yisrael Yom Tov Kedusha. You didn't make it into Yom Tov Kedusha. They take a weekday and a Yom Tov Sheni, which is a chol day, and they make it into a Yom Tov. This is done by the Yidden, the Chacham, Yom Tov Sheni Shel Golis. That's why the Torah hints to this idea of the second day Yom Tov, which is made by the Yidden on Shmini Atzeres Davke. B'Shmini Atzeres Gufa, and within Shmini Atzeres Ba'inyan the Sholach HaSa'om. In this Sholach HaSa'om, the Torah hints to the second day Yom Tov. Ki'inyan Sholach HaSa'om Goimer Hu Kenal Ba'arucha, because Sholach HaSa'om, as said before, Hanesinas Koyach Mishmini Atzeres, that's the power that's given from Shmini Atzeres, Al Kol HaShona, for the entire year. Las says, as in Yon Ha'elam, to make out of matters of the world, Shemitzad Atzmahem Choil, which on their own are weekly, Ledirele Yizbarech, to make it into a dwelling place for Hashem blessing. So, the whole idea of Shalach HaSa'om is to change things around, make the world into a Direle Yizbarech. Okay, just a minute. So since the idea of Shmini Atzeres is Vayelchul Aleim the Koyach to be mamshich throughout the year, the Aleim, so that's why it's fitting for this day to have this second day of Yom Tov, which is also a turnaround, an accomplishment in which Yidden change around things from Chol to Kodesh. Um, V'yesh lahoisif, and the Rebbe says, in addition to that, the Nesinas Koyach Hanal Shenimshach V'yom Tov Sheni, the Shmini Atzeres Simchas Torah, that the above power that we get, Sholach HaSa'om, that comes on the second day, Yom Tov Shmini Atzeres Simchas Torah, he shayeches yoser l'ha'ila mehamshocha Shabiyom Tov Rishon. That has a more connection to the world in the second day more than even than the Hamshocha of the first day of Shmini Atzeres. Mikivon she'oid lifnei ha'alicha le'oholeim. Since even before they actually go le'oholeim, b'Shmini Atzeres gufo nase kvar b'Yom Tov Sheni shaboy hafilchas chol l'kedusha. So already before even they had a chance to go Halehem. In other words, the Yaakov Halacha didn't start yet because it's still Yom Tov. And already we made it into Chol Kodesh. We took a day uh, and we turned it into Kodesh from the weekday. That's why he adds also V'lishloima. Why? The nesinas koyach al avedus habirunim b'meshach kol hashona shenimshach miyom tov sheni d'shmini atzeres. Because this power to sort out during the year from the second day of Yom Tov Sheni of Shmini Atzeres, so that is Simchas Torah Shabbai Nasa Kvar Ha'inyan Dafichas Chol Kodesh, because on Simchas Torah the second day is already turned Chol Kodesh. It's Yom Tov Sheni. And we started to learn Bereshis, the creation of the world. Bereshis bara l'kimus mayim zoretz on Simchas Torah. That accomplishes it. That how will we sort out the sparks like it was in Shlomo? It was by Shlomo Melech. That's why we bring our Shlomo. What is Shlomo? So all of them are Shlomo, Shmoi, that his name is Shlomo, V'sholim v'sheket etin al Yisrael b'yomov, and peace and quiet I will give on the Yidden during his days, a light level of Sholem like Shlomo. So that's going to be a birur b'derech Sholem u'menucha, in a way of peace and relaxation. So the reason why we add in Divrei Hayom, when it's talking about the Yom Tov Sheni, is because the Hamshoche on Simchas Torah, which is already before you even left, you're already turned it over from Chol to Kedusha. That means it's going to be B'derech Sholem. That's why it's connected to Shlomo, and that's what the pasuk says to Shlomo, B'noisef to the Malachim, in which the pasuk only mentions David, the Binyan HaMalchus, but over here is going to be the level in a way of peace. this becomes a close preparation, Lebis Mashiach Tzidkenu, that the coming of our righteous Mashiach, Shu Mezeret David Shloima, which is from the seed of David and Shloima, then it's going to be the true and the wholesomeness of peace, in a very elevated way, even than the peace that was during the days of Shlomo. שהשולם שהויה בימי שלמה הוא שכולם נזבטלו מצד הגילוי. In by Shlomo HaMelech's time, over there, the way the peace was that they all became nullified. Because of the revelation of the light of Shlomo, everything became bug. But they weren't turned around to Kedusha. As opposed to the future to come, that over there the Eibishter will turn around. So all the nation will speak the clear language to serve Hashem with one shoulder. Bebias Mashiach Tzidkenu b'Korav Mamash, with the coming of Mashiach Tzidkenu very soon.